Well, good afternoon. My name is Colin Walsh. I'm an attorney with Wiley Walsh PC here in Austin, Texas. And we represent Professor Linda Mullenix. Last Thursday, we filed a lawsuit against the University of Texas at Austin, alleging violations of the Equal Pay Act, sex discrimination, and retaliation. Since 2016, Professor Mullenix has been paid almost $135,000 less than a male colleague. Since that filing last Thursday, we have received letters of support from law professors and lawyers across the country. Professor Mullenix is one of the most distinguished professors at UT Law, and without further delay, I would like to introduce her to read a prepared statement. Afterwards, I will be happy to answer any additional questions that you may have for me. Otherwise, we will stand on the allegations in the complaint. Thank you.
You want to take this? Good afternoon. My name is Linda Mullenix, and I'm a professor here at the University of Texas School of Law. I've been a professor for 45 years, 28 years at this law school. Over nearly 3 decades, I've educated thousands of Texas lawyers. It's been my honor and my privilege to introduce young students to the legal profession and the ideals embodied by the inscription that's above these doors, that they may truly and impartially administer justice. I've devoted my professional and personal life to this university. I admire this university for its excellence in educating the country's future leaders. I am proud to say that my sons are graduates of UT. It is because I admire this university so much that I've been forced to take action. I am not the only woman at this institution who has experienced salary discrimination. Pay disparity affects women across all faculty ranks, as well as the female staff who largely run this law school. The salary disparity between myself and my male colleagues is not trivial. The amounts are shockingly substantial. Over the past 3 years, I've been paid over $134,000 less than a male colleague who is doing exactly the same job. This year alone, this colleague is being paid more than $50,000 than me. This lawsuit is not about denigrating or attacking my male colleagues' salaries, or their teaching or their scholarship. It is not about whether they are worth what they are paid. It is about giving women equal pay for equal work. Women's pay equity has been a lifelong workplace issue for me. This is not a matter of status or ego or self-worth, but a matter of a woman's basic human right to economic self-determination and economic security. It is well known and well documented that women's salaries lag behind their male co-workers. Pay equity is a very real and enduring workplace issue. Classically, women are blamed for this situation. Women are told more often than not that they do not ask for raises, or if they do, they are bad negotiators. For 3 decades, I have repeatedly attempted to negotiate my compensation. What I continually found was that my dean simply deflected these conversations and refused to negotiate. This is a very deeply personal matter for me. 9 months after arriving to teach at this law school, my husband quit his job. We had 3 very young sons. 3 years later, we were divorced. I became the primary custodial parent of my children, who I raised largely by myself. I received no alimony, no maintenance, or child support. For the last 27 years, I've been the sole support, the breadwinner, for my family, just like many men are for their families. This law school and the 6 male deans I've served under embody nearly a textbook example of discrimination against women in the workplace. In my first decade here, I discovered that the deans and male colleagues systematically denigrated the career accomplishments and intellectual bona fides of the few women faculty here, as not quite as good as the men. In response to raising legitimate questions about the status and compensation of women, the law school began to treat me as the problem and as a threat to the status quo. I have been made an example of what happens to women who come forward with inconvenient questions about salary, status, and career development. Since raising these issues, the law school has engaged in an unrelenting course of retaliatory conduct and career sabotage. This has culminated in my current dean's efforts to force me to retire, without which he refuses to provide me the pay equity required by law. My deans and their supportive faculty colleagues have disparaged my professional accomplishments and personal character. They have attached to me the numerous pejorative labels used to demean a woman's character. I have been slandered as crazy, a liar, a complainer, whiny, difficult, and a well-known problem, and more. Not content to marginalize me at the law school, my colleagues repeatedly have interfered with my ability to seek employment elsewhere by communicating the same derogatory assessments to other institutions. I have frequently reflected on the irony that as a highly educated, competent attorney, I have had to twice hire male attorneys to seek the equitable compensation I am due as a matter of law. No male colleague on this faculty has had to hire an attorney to obtain a pay raise or to accomplish the special off-the-books deals for himself and his family. They simply have shown up in the dean's office and their requests have been granted. Perhaps the most disturbing fact underlying this litigation is that the employer who is denying me pay equity is a law school that educates future lawyers on the very laws it now violates. My lawyer colleagues are willfully choosing to disregard what the law requires. Shame on my dean, shame on my colleagues, shame on this university. If shame is not enough to voluntarily cause this law school to change its institutional culture to comply with federal and state law, then I am relying on the power of the law to truly and impartially administer justice. Thank you.
Are there any questions that you have that I might be able to answer?
In response to the lawsuit, the university sent us some of these committee that was formed here at UT to study equity, and I guess the graphs show that they've made progress, and according to the information that they provided, that on average they've eliminated some of the pay gap overall. So is this more of a personal case, or are you trying to make a statement for there's an ongoing issue here within the university?
There's an ongoing issue here at the law school. I'm familiar with the study you're talking about. We actually talk about it in our complaint itself. And it just goes to show how out of step with the rest of the university the law school is. The numbers don't lie. The facts don't lie. Professor Mullenix taught the same class as a male colleague and received almost $50,000 less for this past year, over $134,000 less over the past 3 years.
So you're okay, you don't dispute the numbers for the university-wide, but it's specific to this school?
That's correct. I have no reason to dispute that. I haven't looked at the numbers, but there's no reason to think that that isn't true. But what I can say is it's not true at the law school, and it's not true for Professor Mullenix. Anything else?
There's obviously a lot of students here watching this process. What do you all hope they take away from it?
Well, I hope that they learn that it is important to stand up for what's right. It is important to assert these claims, and that everybody and all women deserve equal pay for equal work.
Any timelines that look like going forward from here?
So what happens now is it's going to be served on the University of Texas, and then they will have a certain amount of time to formally reply in court. And then there'll be other deadlines after that.
What court's it?
It's in federal court here in Austin, in Judge Pittman's court. Anything else? Well, thank you all.